Hey, what is going on YouTube? Welcome back to another Fallout 76 news and information video. In today's video, we got quite a bit of information to go over, so let's go ahead and get straight into the Fallout news. Now, our first piece of information has to do with an overview of the Fallout 76 map. This was posted on Fallout News' Twitter page, which is a very reliable source for Fallout 76 information. And essentially, it is just an overview of the entire map for Fallout 76. Now, keep in mind, it doesn't show names or specific locations or anything like that, but it is a nice overview of the map that we will be playing on inside Fallout 76. So, here, take a look. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. I really enjoyed the way the map looks. The map looks very big. It looks like it's got plenty of locations, and I'm excited to play on this new map inside Fallout 76, and I can't wait to play the game in general. So moving on to our next piece of information, this actually has to do with, I guess you could say, the confirmation of bosses inside Fallout 76. So let's go ahead and take a look. So somebody said at DC Deacon, what are the crown enemies officially called? Me and my friends have referred to them as Dawns. To which Pete Hines says, I don't know if they have an official name. We refer to them as the bosses. So it looks like the enemies with the little crown next to the name are going to be bosses. And I'm pretty sure when you kill these bosses, they will have higher level loot than other regular enemies. So it's really cool to see that we're going to see bosses inside Fallout 76, or mini bosses, if you will. So moving on to our next piece of information, Pete Hines actually answered someone's question about crossplay, and he answered it very well and thoroughly, and it kind of fully explains the whole crossplay situation for Fallout 76 going on right now. For those of you that don't know what situation I'm talking about, quick summary is Sony allowed Fortnite to have crossplay. A bunch of people started accusing Bethesda Game Studios of lying about that because they're not putting crossplay inside Fallout 76, and Bethesda responded saying we didn't have enough time and we built the game, to work without crossplay, and that was kind of confirmed by Pete Hines. So let's go ahead and read it. So somebody says, hey, at DC Deacon, I'm very excited for this game, but my big issue is that I have a PC and an Xbox, but my friends play on Xbox. And since I would rather play on PC, buying 2 copies is rather annoying and expensive, but it would benefit you as a company. How do you feel about this? To which Pete Hines says, I don't have an answer for you. Sorry. We looked into crossplay some time ago. It wasn't an option on all platforms, so we set it aside to focus on other things we needed to do. We will look at it again after launch to see what is possible. So it looks like Bethesda Game Studios is going to look into crossplay after launch. So for those of you curious about that, Pete Hines gave a really good answer here, and I think it was important to share with you guys because a lot of people keep on asking about crossplay. So moving on, here we go. Somebody says, actually scrap those other questions. This was from that same user. I found the answer to them. Is game progress saved via Bethesda Net, or is saved via your Xbox account? My guess is Bethesda Net, to which Pete Hines says progress would be saved on our servers. Now, a lot of people have been asking, if you play on Xbox, will you be able to, then have that same character on PC? Long story short, guys, there are no cross saves inside Fallout 76, so you can't, play on your PC or your PS4 and then access your character on your PC, or you can't play on your PS4 and access your character on your Xbox, or you can't play on your Xbox and access your character on either PS4 and or PC. No cross saves or anything like that. So do keep that in mind because I do see that it's a very common question. Moving on to some more stuff about cross-platform progression. Pete Hines, same user here, says, okay, does that mean if you went from playing on one Xbox to PS4 or to PC, would you have the same progress as long as you are signed into the same Bethesda.net account, or is it only for the server for that specific platform? To which Pete Hines says, we do not support cross-platform progression. Your character will be tied to the platform you created on. So yeah, guys, long story short, your character is going to be tied to the platform you created on. And like we talked about, if you play on Xbox, you know, that character won't be available on your PS4 or PC. Or if you play on your PC, it's not going to be available on your PS4 or your Xbox, and so on and so forth. So, yeah. Moving on to our next question here. This actually has to do difficulty of the enemies inside Fallout 76. So let's go ahead and look at it. Somebody says at DC Deacon, hey Pete, loving what I'm seeing in Fallout 76 so far. Question, was the difficulty lowered for the Influencer Invitational event? Things seem pretty easy for them from what I saw in gameplay videos. Cheers, man. To which Pete Hines says, not that I'm aware of, but the team is messing with things like how tough creatures are all the time. So I picture when private servers become available, hardcore mode will become available, enemies will be much harder. But strictly speaking about the Fallout 76 game itself, what I hear is the enemies actually scale in level, and that's just what I've heard and from what I've read. But then some people also say that the enemies won't level, so I don't know which one it is, and I haven't heard Pete Hines say anything about it. But what I do know for a fact is that when you nuke an area of the map, the enemies will be extremely high level. So I think no matter what level you get to inside Fallout 76, once those nukes goes off, there will be some sort of challenge when you have a really high level character. And I hope the enemies do level with you, because it would kind of suck if the enemies did not level with you and you were, you know, this level 50 fighting like old level 1 enemy. That would be unfortunate. So I hope the enemies do level with you. But like Pete Hines says, the team is always messing with how tough the creatures are all the time. So moving on to our next piece of information, this actually has to do with blocking people who grief and stuff like that. So let's take a look at it. Somebody says at DC Deacon, since you can see other players, it will be hard to get away from griefers unless I log out and back into a different server. If a player does grief me, and am I able to block him? Will this transfer me or the griefer to a different server? To which Pete Hines says you can block them. It mutes them. They can't see you on the map. No, it doesn't transfer either of you to another version of the game. So it looks like they have thought of griefers in this situation, and it looks like if somebody is griefing in some way, shape, or form, you could block them. They'll be muted and no longer able to see you on the map, which I think is a very nice feature, especially for an online game, because a lot of online games do become very toxic very quickly, especially when you can't block players. So moving on to some information about camps and whether people could actually take over your base or not. So here we go. Somebody says at DC Deacon, how does the contesting ownership work in Fallout 76? I think I saw something about your camp being safe unless someone contest ownership. What does that entail? TIA. Don't know what that means. Pete Hines puts, your camp is always yours. Workshop, on the other hand, are public locations that anyone can claim from each other. So guys, don't worry about your base getting taken over. Your camp cannot be taken over. Your camp is yours and yours alone. However, there are these little public workshops out in the world, which if you capture them, they'll give you resources. But keep in mind, other people could also come and claim them and capture them if you don't defend them. So just keep that in mind. So moving on to our next piece of information. This has to do with some more bounty information. So here we go. Somebody says, say someone has a bounty and they block someone. Can that person they blocked still see them on the map? To which Pete Hines says, I don't know for certain, but in talking to devs, having a bounty supersedes all other flags. So you can't get a bounty and then try blocking everyone in the game with you to avoid them. You're flagged to everyone as a murderer. That would be my guess. So it looks like if a murderer has a bounty on their head and they think they're going to be smart and block everyone on the server so they can't see them, it's not going to work. It seems like bounties on people's heads will supersede all other flags no matter what, which I think is pretty cool and a good way for people who have bounty on their heads to, you know, not be able to avoid it in any way, shape, or form. Moving on to our next piece of information, we actually have something that has to do with quest. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Somebody says, so Pete, am I correct that if I start a quest by myself, a couple of friends join me during the quest, but haven't started that, if I finish the quest, it won't count for them? To what Pete Hines says, that's my understanding. and how I've seen it work. So for those of you curious about, whether when your friends join you during a quest, uh, and you complete it, will it count for them or not? There's your answer. So moving on to the next one, this piece of information actually has to do with essentially Fallout 76 as a whole. I think this is the most important piece of information here because it essentially answers a lot of, I don't want to say a lot of questions. It essentially answers a lot of questions, or I don't know how to say it. Many of you know how we see people give Fallout 76 a bunch of hate, saying that it's not Fallout and stuff like this. Pete Hines responded to someone that said something similar to this, and it was the perfect answer, in my honest opinion. Much better than I could ever come up with. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Somebody says at DC Deacon, imagine if the creator of Calvin and Hobbes in its prime said, no more comic strips for a while, I'm only doing feature-length films where crowd interaction is necessary for the film to end. Don't worry, I know it's Uncharted, but you all will love it. That's what you're doing with Fallout. To which Pete Hines says, you spend your life only doing what's known and safe, and you're never going to accomplish anything awesome. Don't be afraid to take chances and try new things. Even if they're scary, amazing things might happen. Now, I think that's a perfect, I guess you could say, address to a lot of the people who say Fallout 76 is not a Fallout, or Fallout is changing and stuff like this. Fallout is going to go back to Fallout in the future. Sometime there will eventually be another, single player Fallout game. Sure, it might be a long time from now, and Fallout might be different for a while, but it's not going to be different for forever. Besides, Fallout 76 looks like a really good game. Might as well try it. I mean, try it. If you don't like it, it's not your cup of tea, great. Just like the Elder Scrolls Online, right? The Elder Scrolls Online, when it came out, people were upset with it. They were angry about it. Oh my god, it's going to ruin the Elder Scrolls franchise. I never want to see, another Elder Scrolls game again. A long time goes by after the Elder Scrolls launches, after all the hate has been put on the Elder Scrolls. Those, days turn into months, those months turn into years, and now the Elder Scrolls 6 gets announced, and everyone's excited. The same thing will happen with Fallout 76 if you don't like Fallout 76. Eventually, those days that you don't play it, those months that you don't play it, will turn into years, and eventually we'll see another Fallout. So, even if you don't like Fallout 76 and you try it, don't worry, there'll always be another Fallout down the road. But do not be afraid to try Fallout 76 just because it's new and different. You might actually like it. I'll put it to you this way. I see a lot of people agreeing with people saying that Fallout 76 is going to be a bad game. And I see a couple of content creators out there saying that Fallout 76 is going to be a bad game. The most important words in my entire life I've ever gotten are, do not let someone else influence your choices or actions. Only a fool lets that happen. So just because you see someone else saying something about it, because your friends are saying something bad about Fallout 76, don't let them influence your choices or decisions. Play the game and make the final judgment call for yourself. But that's just my advice. So moving on to the next one, piece of information we have here is about servers inside Fallout 76. So here we go. Somebody says at DC Deacon, liking what I see so far from gameplay vids of hashtag Fallout 76, but have a question. Will the matchmaking system on our servers, maybe not at release but later, allow players to state the kind of gameplay they want, etc., run and gun, immersive roleplay, etc.? To which Pete Hines says, no, you're not picking a server or a type of server. So no, inside Fallout 76, even in the near future, they are not going to have different types of servers. They are all going to be the same servers. Now, when private servers comes out, that'll be a different story, but that's way later on down the road. But no, Fallout 76 itself is not going to have special servers. They're all going to be the same servers, and everyone's pretty much going to be playing the same game at first, until private servers do eventually come out later down the road. Moving on, somebody says at DC Deacon, will the beta times be at the same time worldwide, etc., 3 p.m. on American West Coast, and therefore 9 p.m. in the UK? Or at a time such as 3 p.m. on the West Coast, and then 3 p.m. in the UK? If you see this and reply, then I hope you answer. To which Pete Hines says they will vary so we can accommodate as many folks as we can, as much as we can. So long story short, the Fallout 76 beta, the uptime and downtime for the servers are going to vary so everyone gets a chance to play the beta and actually enjoy it. So guys, it looks like that's all the Fallout 76 news and information I have for you guys here today. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please be sure to drop that like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help the channel grow. I love you all. Refreshing Pete Hines Twitter and nothing. Anyways, I love you all, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.